The war had ended, but the scars remained. Across the galaxy, the human race's name was both feared and revered. The coalition of worlds had declared humanity's resistance impossible to overcome. Where other species had faltered and surrendered, humans had fought with a tenacity that defied all logic. And when peace was finally brokered, humanity was left standing amidst the ashes, their resolve unbroken, but at a heavy cost. On the distant colony of Erythra Prime, the air still carried the tang of scorched metal and ozone. Ruins stretched across the horizon, punctuated by makeshift shelters cobbled together from the remnants of a once thriving city. Survivors milled about, their movements deliberate but weary. Among them was Captain Mira Calderon, a veteran of the war, now tasked with rebuilding what remained of her people's hope. Mira stood atop a crumbled battlement, gazing at the horizon. Her prosthetic arm, a sleek fusion of human and alien tech, whirred faintly as she clenched her fist. The stars above seemed both closer and colder now, as if the universe itself mourned the loss inflicted by the war. Captain Calderon? She turned to see Jackson, a young engineer who had barely been old enough to enlist when the war began. His face was gaunt, but his eyes still held a flicker of optimism. "We've set up the first batch of fusion reactors," he reported. "They're running at 40% capacity, enough to power the settlement for now." Mira nodded. "Good work. Make sure the shelters have heat and light before anything else. Prioritize the children and the infirm." Jackson hesitated. "And the message beacon?" Myra's jaw tightened. The message beacon had been a point of contention among the survivors. Some argued it was necessary to re-establish contact with other human colonies to let the galaxy know they were still alive. Others feared it would draw the attention of scavengers, or worse, remnants of the enemy. "We'll activate it tomorrow," she said finally. "One more day to fortify our defenses, just in case." That night, the settlement was quiet, save for the hum of newly restored power. Mira sat in the communal hall, surrounded by other survivors. Children whispered to one another, their laughter a rare and precious sound. Elders shared stories of Earth, tales of green forests and blue oceans that many of the younger generation had never seen. "Captain," a voice called softly. Mira turned to see Dr. Leora Venn, the settlement's medic. Leora gestured for her to step outside. Once they were alone, the doctor's expression darkened. "We're running low on supplies," Leora said. "Medical-grade bioplast, antibiotics, clean water filters. We need to trade soon, or we'll start losing people to preventable infections." Mira sighed. "The beacon, then?" "Tomorrow." Leora placed a hand on Myra's shoulder. "You've carried us this far. We'll make it." Mira nodded, though her confidence wavered. Humanity had survived the war, but survival was only the first step. The next day, the beacon was activated. A pulse of light and data shot into the void, a signal to any who might be listening. The settlement's defenses were manned, every able-bodied survivor standing ready for whatever response the beacon might provoke. Hours passed in tense anticipation. Then, as dusk fell, the radar picked up a signal. A ship, small and unarmed, approached at sublight speed. The settlement watched in silence as the vessel landed on the outskirts. Mira, accompanied by Jackson and Leora, approached the ship with weapons drawn. The hatch hissed open, and a figure emerged. It was an alien, tall and willowy, with shimmering skin that caught the fading light. They raised their hands in a gesture of peace. "I am Valus of the Derathan," the alien said in flawless English. "We received your signal. I come to offer aid." Myra's grip on her weapon tightened. The Derathan had been neutral during the war, refusing to ally with either side. Many humans viewed their inaction as betrayal. "Why now?" Mira demanded. Why help us now, when you turned your back on us before? Velus's luminous eyes met hers. Because the galaxy has changed. We see now what we failed to see before. Your people fought not just for yourselves, but for the freedom of all. Let us repay our debt. Mira studied the alien's face, searching for deception, but finding only sincerity. She lowered her weapon. We'll accept your help, she said. But understand this. We won't be anyone's pawns. Humanity stands on its own. Velus nodded. And we will stand with you. In the weeks that followed, the Darathans' aid proved invaluable. Supplies, medical equipment, and engineering expertise revitalized the settlement. Other signals came, too. Human colonies scattered but alive, reaching out to one another. The war had left humanity fractured, but now, slowly, they began to rebuild. Mira stood once more atop the crumbled battlement, watching as lights flickered on across the settlement. The stars above seemed a little brighter now, no longer cold and distant. The war had ended, but humanity's fight was far from over. And for the first time, Mira felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years: hope.